Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I'm Sarah Mclaughlin from the virtual events team here at Scientist.com, and I'm very pleased to be your host for today's event. Before we get started with our presentation today, I just wanted to go over a few housekeeping notes to help you get the most out of the event. First, this webinar is being recorded and resources will be made available following the event. Next, we'd love to hear from you, so please send any questions, thoughts, and comments our way using the Ask a Question panel, which is to the right of the slide viewer at any time. Feel free to click around the Resources panel, where you'll find a few links and documents associated with today's event. And finally, if you have any technical issues, please try refreshing your browser first and ensure that you're using Google Chrome. If this doesn't help to solve your issue, please reach out to us using that Ask a Question panel, and we'll help to get you back up and running. And now it's my pleasure to introduce today's panelists. First, Dr. Pat Patty Peeples is a health economist, pharmacist, and industry leader with 35 years of experience in healthcare value, evidence, and access. She is founder and CEO of healtheconomics.com, and she also serves as Vice President of Evidence and Content for Scientist.com. Dr. Peeples has served in senior positions in medical affairs, health outcomes, and product management at multiple biopharma companies, and directed hundreds of HEOR and RWE research projects. Extensively published in the peer-reviewed literature, Dr. Peeples also serves on several journal editorial boards where she works to increase the quality of published evidence and improve value communications. I would also like to take this time to welcome David Brown. David is the Senior Director of Business Development at Scientist.com, where he's developed new clients, both large and small, for the past 6 years. He has a Master's of Science in Nutritional Biochemistry and has spent his recent career growing technology startups in both e-commerce and procurement. Over the last year, David has spent considerable time developing new partnerships for the value, evidence, and access marketplace, and leads the effort at Scientist.com to expand the health economics category globally. I'd also like to welcome Brian Titus. Brian is a seasoned procurement professional with a strong focus on R&D within the life science industry. Prior to joining Scientist.com, Brian worked at Procurian, which is now Accenture, a procurement consulting organization, and also at Merck. During his 5 years at Merck, Brian was responsible for strategic initiatives for some of their most innovative service offerings. At Scientist.com, Brian leads the supplier relations business unit, focused on the end-to-end onboarding process from supplier identification all the way through the ongoing management of Scientist.com's supplier marketing program. And lastly, I'd like to introduce Matt Mclaughlin. Matt is the Senior Vice President of Compliance and Categories at Scientist.com. He joined the team in 2016 to build out the functionality of the platform to support the sourcing of regulated services, and has since supported the top pharma companies to transform their category strategies to increase efficiency, reduce costs, and increase compliance adherence. And now I will hand it over to Dr. Patty Peeples. You can take it away whenever you're ready.
Thanks so much, Sarah, and welcome everyone. We are really glad that you've chosen to spend the next hour with us today to talk about how an online marketplace can help solve some of your research challenges in the value, evidence, and access space. Today's webinar is going to be very interactive with our panel and with our speakers, using common questions from manufacturers and solution providers with a few slides for visual support. Our goal today is to help you understand who Scientist.com is and how this online marketplace can be used to solve some of the challenges in value, evidence, and access. Our purpose, in fact, our core mission is to help you conduct research faster, more cost effectively, and to spend less time on that red tape that keeps you from focusing on the research that delivers better outcomes for patients. So we also want to unveil a vastly expanded supplier marketing services suite of services to better help suppliers showcase their data assets and their capabilities to researchers. We're going to close with some case studies of real-life examples of using the marketplace in research and what I hope will be a lively Q&A. Let's kick it off with a poll, shall we, Sarah? Okay, audience, let's figure out who you are and what area you represent. Would you please take a minute to respond to this poll? Are you a buyer of pharmaceutical research services, a supplier, or both? While you're giving us your answers, let me remind you to use that Ask a Question pane and submit your questions at any time during the webinar. And also, drive on over to the resources panel and you're going to find a whole variety of assets there that will help you better understand scientist.com and our online marketplace. All right, it looks like we've got a good portion of you represent the suppliers, and we have a portion that is representing buyers, as well as about an equal 8% function as both a buyer and a supplier. Thank you so much. That gives us a handle on the audience. So I'd like to invite Dave onto camera. Dave, can you tell us a little bit about Scientist.com? We've been around for a number of years and experiencing rapid growth worldwide. Who is Scientist.com and what problem in pharmaceutical research are they solving?
Yeah, hi, Patty, and thank you for having me. I do appreciate it. Scientist.com has been around for about 15 years now, believe it or not. And really the genesis and the idea behind Scientist.com was really to get our arms around this ever-expanding world of biotechs and also CROs, CMOs, and other service providers that just started exploding over the last 10 years. The idea was to create a piece of software that would easily connect both the buyers and the sellers of custom research services and products. And as you mentioned earlier, really try to reduce a lot of the time and the energy that goes into those interactions. And the problem that we were trying to solve was not only the bottleneck and the difficulty of outsourcing, but also that researchers in general have been asked over the years to, quite frankly, do more with less. And so any kind of efficiencies that can be gained from a software system like Scientist.com would really benefit, research in general, but also, the suppliers as well, having a place where they can easily interact with thousands of, or well, in our case, hundreds of enterprise, marketplaces will make their jobs much easier finding new business. That's, as it says here, Amazon-like approach. It is a very easy system to use to kind of create those efficiencies.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
You want to give a little background on the company?
Yeah, absolutely. And over the last 15 years, as you can see here, the company has grown incredibly fast, as you mentioned. We've been recognized, for that with a few different awards from the Inc. publications. But in my heart, a little bit more importantly, we've also won quite a few awards for being one of the best places to work in the country. I myself have been at the company for just about 6 years. And I can personally attest that is true. We have a great team, and I think that really, speaks volumes why we've grown so quickly, is having this great team in place. We are an award-winning platform.
Thanks, Dave. So increasingly, the term marketplace is being used in the life sciences area, and it's no longer seems relegated solely to consumer products. Exactly what is an online marketplace, Dave, and how is it used to solve some of the sourcing challenges, specifically in the VEA area?
Yeah, Patty, you're absolutely right. Traditionally, we think of marketplaces in consumer-facing, experiences, right? So the Amazons, the eBays, the Airbnb, Uber, et cetera, right? But business-to-business marketplaces have also started to grow incredibly fast because they're solving complex interactions between buyers and sellers. And in this case, these can be, very complex, projects and scopes of work that are created between the buyers and sellers. And so we have to create an ecosystem that solves a lot of those issues, right? And the issues typically are, okay, is there anybody that can help me, right? We have people in the Research Concierge. Is there a way that we can, benefit financially? Is there reporting? Is there data analysis, right? All these things that you kind of, as you go around this wheel on this slide, that are more than just a shopping experience where you go on and buy toilet paper from Amazon, right? Because of the complexity of what we do, there needs to be these different features that are in place. And from a buyer's perspective, it's going to be easier to request what you're looking for. And from a seller's perspective, it's going to be easier to advertise, to market, and to be able to show, what your expertise is. And at that point, our team can help kind of make that connection and facilitate that commerce.
So who exactly does Scientist.com work with in terms of building these enterprise marketplaces?
Yeah, you can see on this slide, it's quite lengthy. We have over 140 enterprise clients on what we consider our buying side, and those clients range from 24 of the top 50 pharma, or it's actually 24 of the top 30 pharma at this point, as well as a lot of the blue chip biotechs that are out there, and then even small startups as well are benefiting from an enterprise experience. So as the benefit here, if you're a supplier on this webinar, by working with us, you're able to access all of these companies and be able to respond to their requests, which is pretty exciting for everybody, I think.
Yeah, we're going to dive down into exactly how you might access that. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Dave, so Scientist.com started the development of online marketplaces, particularly in the preclinical research area, and then largely driven by requests from clients corresponding to the growth of HEOR, RWE, and Market Access. Scientists began pivoting to developing marketplaces to more deeply serve that particular audience. Tell us how Scientist.com focuses a marketplace specifically for value, evidence, and access services.
Yeah, Patty, thank you. And you're right. Scientist.com did originally start in preclinical research. We have well over 3,500 research areas that we facilitate every day between these buyers and sellers. But as we've grown, a couple of our large pharma partners realized that because our ecosystem was so robust, bolting on new categories was a natural evolution for us. Value, evidence, and access, specifically, HEOR services, real world data, and evidence sources and market access, activities was a natural fit for us because it has the same challenges, which is a large, tail of suppliers, difficulty contracting, difficulty being able to connect those buyers and sellers. And so bringing those on to our marketplace, and you can look on the bottom here, there's well over 100 of these categories now that we work in, with each one of those kind of macro categories on the bottom. But it works the same way. It's easy for researchers to go on and place a request in one of these categories. The marketplace, because it's category driven, we're then able, both through, AI matching as well as through our concierge team, really help match up the best supplier for that request. And from the supplier's perspective, if you have a nice, robust, built-out, profile on the marketplace, that helps us match you up, with the request based off of these, value, evidence, and access categories.
So let's take a look at some of the unique challenges that are in the VEA category. If you'll go to the next slide, please, Sarah. I think all of you out there probably deal with this particular challenge, which is data access. Whether you're a buyer or a supplier, procuring the right data source, data asset for your research is notoriously challenging in the VEA area. Also, as Dave alluded to, there's a relatively complex supplier base, and it can be difficult to identify which solution provider has your skill set, your subject matter expertise, the product, or ability to source the data that you need, either globally, internationally, or nationally, or globally, nationally, or regionally. Also, the marketplace, one of the challenges that we deal with when you have complex research like is common in HEOR, RWE, can be really difficult to compare those RFPs. And the online marketplace can enable a more easy comparison across different RFPs. And of course, I think every single one of us deals with just enormously long contracting times within this particular area and across all of pharmaceutical research. These particular challenges while they are common to pharmaceutical research in general, are also particularly notable within the HEOR, RWE, and Market Access area. Next slide, Sarah. So just to give our audience a little bit of background, several years ago, Scientist.com partnered with HealthEconomics.com when Scientist was expanding their delivery of services in VEA. It was a very an excellent partnership that eventually led to an acquisition last year. And what that means for you now, in addition to the marketplace delivering VEA services, you also now have access to an extensive compilation of educational tools and resources that can better help you understand what's going on in the market. Gives you access to career opportunities and unparalleled business development opportunities from the supplier standpoint too. So the partnership, which led to an acquisition, is now an incredibly comprehensive suite of solutions if you're in the VEA area. Let's now invite Brian onto the camera. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Patty. Thanks for having me.
I'm really glad you're here. So, Brian, you work in the customer-facing role with solution providers. Can you tell us a little bit more about the suppliers that are in the marketplace and where are they located geographically?
Yeah, absolutely. So Scientist.com is a two-sided marketplace, serving both buyers and suppliers across the life sciences spectrum. And on the supplier side, we have an extensive global network that continues to expand. There are over 350 signed suppliers that perform value, evidence, and access category services within this marketplace that you can work with right away. And as you can see on the map, we have an extensive global network across all brands and channels, Scientist.com, Health Economics, as well as Inside Scientific, with presence within Asia, Latin America, Europe, North America, with most of the work being around US and EU. But as a buyer, if you want to work with a supplier that is not currently on our platform, we have a dedicated supplier onboarding team that will help get them onboarded within the platform, which we had found traditionally is faster than the direct client supplier onboarding timelines. Alternatively, if you're a supplier and you wish to sign up, please let us know and we can get with you for all the associated details to provide you access and visibility to our entire client base, that 140 number that David mentioned earlier. And you'll see some examples of suppliers on the marketplace, which again continues to grow each year. And currently we have about 4,000 unique suppliers from the earliest stages of drug discovery going all the way into the clinic.
Fantastic, Brian. Thank you. So audience, whether if you're a manufacturer or a solution provider that's looking to subcontract a portion of your research, you can use the online marketplace to find certified solution providers that have that skill set. What you see on your screen here are the 75 plus service offerings that can be accessed, and with an easy to click tab, which you can drill down into any of those service lines and see the solution providers that offer that particular service. You can see that we've got an extensive compilation of every phase of research across the whole VAE continuum, from early stage reimbursement and market access, landscape assessment, all the way up to post-commercialization and safety studies. In addition, one click can initiate a request. If you were to drill down on one of those service areas, see the suppliers that offer it, you can simply click through immediately and send a request to that supplier. No longer are you out there on Google or LinkedIn trying to find who the contact person is. And also, the marketplace provides supplier descriptions and ratings of their performance on the marketplace, which gives you greater insight into that particular supplier. As we've mentioned, once you receive the proposals, those can be compared in a more apples to apples way, which is a real time savings for you and gives you greater capacity to choose the supplier that meets your needs. And furthermore, this is one of my favorite ones, almost a hidden benefit, is that there's very deep analytics that you can access for project tracking. Whether you are a buyer or a supplier, You can see what projects have been sourced through your access to that platform. You can get a sense of pricing that has been received on earlier bids. You can see if you as a supplier have bid for that project before. And so it really gives you excellent insight and intelligence in responding to requests. So if we look a little bit at what's going on with the marketplace, let's take a gander at the last 4 quarters. Over this past year, we've sourced about $50 million of research services, specifically in the VEA area. And through the multi-source process, have generated about $2.5 million in savings. More than 400 projects have been sourced through there just in this past year across 5 countries and 20 different sites. And on average, each project has almost 6 quotes per request. And we'll show you a case study of why that's meaningful. And on average, the time frame is 5 days from initiation to quote and 30 days from initiation to PO. So in the chat or in the question panel, let me know how that metric sounds to you and what kind of timelines you're dealing with currently. All right, Dave, let's go to you again. Now that we've given a bit of an overview of the marketplace, what kinds of studies can be sourced through it, can you tell us specifically how that contracting and bid process works and what that means from a timeline and an ease of management perspective?
Yeah, no, thank you, Patty. I think what's interesting about the marketplace is, a lot of people think of, okay, our marketplace is just an area where you go to save money, right? You get a bunch of quotes. Can you pick the lowest bidder and save money? Yeah, of course, that's a use case, right? But really, as we're going to walk through these right now, 90% of the marketplace benefits are below the surface. First and foremost, personal time savings, right? Any marketplace worth its weight is going to help you become more efficient during your day. Whether you are buying those services or selling those services, those efficiencies are time is money, right? You can't put a dollar sign on your personal time. You can go next. There we go. Yep. And indirect cost savings, right? So think about how much time it takes to go through the contracting piece, right? Or how many folks need to be involved with billing or compliance. Imagine a marketplace that is going to make all of their jobs easier as well. And also, it's just going to prevent a lot of those fires that we deal with every day with our workplace. So the marketplace is, again, can you really put a price on saving some of those headaches? With a lot of the red tape that goes on with outsourcing. Looking at your supplier, right? So as a buyer, right? So from a buyer's perspective, being able to quickly and easily look at all the different suppliers through standardized RFIs, standardized RFP processes, right? Standardized questionnaires and profiles. If you get used to being in the same ecosystem and being able to learn the same information about each supplier quickly, then you're going to be able to make decisions more quickly. And if you're a supplier, right, same thing. If the buyer is not going to be the right fit for you at the beginning, you're not going to have to waste your time filling out these giant RFIs and RFPs every time you're trying to win business. So just creating efficiencies throughout the supplier assessment is really important for both sides. The fourth area is innovation. So whether you're supplying a new innovative tool or innovative service, or you're looking for one, the marketplace is really good at surfacing those, right? We can surface small companies with new innovative tools side by side with the largest CROs around the world. And we even create a segmented area called our Innovation Hub, where those small companies can be profiled and can be, marketed appropriately as new and emerging technologies, which is really exciting. Yep. Oh, and last piece, just enormous benefit of reduced time to market. We can all agree that our goal here is to get products on the market. So if we can cut that time down by months or maybe even years, creating the right partnerships through our marketplace, then we're all really doing our jobs, for our industry.
Thanks, Dave. Let's take a look at that. Drill down to the approach for the contracting and bid process. Sarah, next slide, please.
Yeah, Patty. So, what's interesting around everything you just saw on that last page is you look at what are the biggest bottlenecks in our jobs, right? And if our job is to get these projects done, get research done, what along the way are we constantly challenged with? And I think most of us would agree that the contracts, that legal is a huge bottleneck, right? Getting legal support to look at every new MSA, every new CDA that we need to put in place is always going to be a challenge. And I think you could ask any lawyer that they feel challenged by this situation. And of course, researchers do because they want things done yesterday. And businesses selling those services, want this done quickly so they can increase their cash flow and close some business. So what we're able to do is create a contract that is a proactive situation, meaning that we have one standard MSA, one standard CDA, one standard MTA that everybody uses. It's non-deviated, it's established up front. So essentially we create an ecosystem where the buyers and sellers can interact together freely and create business and research on demand. And I think that's really one of the biggest, most important things that we've done for the industry. And it's not even software related, which is kind of funny about us. But you can see on here, there's 140 biopharmas that have signed this, and well over 4,000 CROs and CMOs. So the legal structure is working, and we can tell you that close to $400 million last year alone went through this legal structure. So it's very watertight, and I think everybody would agree that it's a benefit.
Tell us a little more about the bill.
So last piece. Yeah. Thank you, Patty. So when we're talking about, one of the final steps of, efficiencies, right, is how can we consolidate billing? Chasing down, a bunch of different partners for invoices, for POs, for PO matching, for auditing. Those things, again, are just, a headache or a hurdle to efficient business. So what we're able to do is actually consolidate billing through one portal. So we become the one vendor of record, which is pretty cool. We become the one place where you receive invoices, where you give invoices, receive POs. It's really, really an efficiency point. So you can talk to one person that's kind of has their arms around this and that can consolidate it all for you. It just makes everything a lot easier. And, at the bottom down here, you can see, ERP integrations. We have major integration, capability with, SAP, Ariba, all the different, ERP, functions out there. So again, having a centralized point of facilitation is going to cut down on a lot of those problems that just slow down our research. Yep, and this next slide is showing exactly what I'm talking about. So Patty mentioned it earlier about 5 days, right, or in 30 days to PO. If you look at the marketplace in general across the entire ecosystem, we probably are a little conservative saying that it takes 60 days usually. The contracting piece by itself can sometimes take 60 days, as a lot of you guys know. But from on our marketplace, we looked at well over 2,000 projects as a case study, and 9.8 days was the time from time you placed a request in the system to the time that a purchase order was cut. It's really that fast, and that's the efficiency right there. That's the piece that's making all of our lives easier.
Thanks so much. Let's go to a poll now, audience.
Yep.
Tell us, Dave has alluded to numerous ways that you can more easily contract and find suppliers that meet your particular needs. Tell us, from your experience, what are the key challenges in finding new solution providers? Is it contracting with new suppliers, identifying qualified suppliers, getting them set up in a system, understanding the relative performance of that supplier versus your cadre of existing suppliers, or maybe you always stick with the same one? Let us know. And if you are a solution provider on here, you can look at this and answer it perhaps from finding new buyers as well. All right, let's take a look at the results here. So it looks like it's split pretty evenly, that contracting with the new suppliers versus identification of them, as well as understanding the relative performance. And this is really interesting because we're going to give you some case studies that address each one of these. So let's move on. So Dave, we've talked a little bit about some of the services that are provided by scientists in terms of contracting, identifying suppliers, etc. Tell us more about the role of the Research Concierge.
Yeah, Patty, this is probably my favorite slide. And I talked earlier about one of the most important things we've done is create this legal model. But really, what makes us shine are these folks. It's our Research Concierge. I think anybody that's ever dealt with any kind of software, especially consumer software, knows that getting somebody to help you is practically impossible. In fact, most software companies now don't even have live support anymore. They have RoboChat. They have places you can send emails, and maybe somebody gets back to you through, a Facebook message, right? We are completely different, and we take the Achilles heel of software and actually make it one of our strengths by having folks that are really, really, really overeducated customer service agents at the end of the day. I mean, you're talking about PhD level scientists that have, dozens, if not, 30, 40 years of combined experience in the field, that are here to help you with every request. So when you put a request into the system, not only is our system matching up keywords to help find suppliers, but more importantly, we're being able to match you up with warm bodies that are going to be live and helping you on every single request. And it's quite the cool experience, whether you're a buyer or a seller of those services.
Thanks so much, Dave. I'm going to invite Brian onto the camera now. And Brian is going to give us an overview of the Scientist.com marketing services that can better enable a solution provider to communicate their skill set, their subject matter expertise, and their data assets. Brian, take it away.
Perfect. Thanks, Patty. So one thing that I think is important to understand is that Scientist.com is a complementary business development channel, and there's no cost to join. It is not meant to replace any existing direct connections, contracts, or business development processes, but rather think of it as an extension of your internal capabilities for things like legal or operations, accounts receivable, payable, as well as marketing. And I think this is especially true with Scientist.com's acquisitions of healtheconomics.com as well as InsideScientific.com, because suppliers now have a suite of different options to expand your reach and create further exposure with your audience. What's great about Scientist.com is that we can supplement your organizations and or individual business units' ancillary processes to enable you and your teams to focus more on strategy and critical deliverables and less on the administrative aspects of running a business. Our team is always happy to help you drive results as we learn more about your key strategy goals and how Scientist.com can contribute to them. Simply put, our goal is to assist you in leveraging various digital tools and tactics to turn a target audience into paying customers. With billions of potential customers online and utilizing search engines like Google or Scientist.com to find the research services and or products that you provide, it is vital to build a partnership to enhance your digital online presence and develop what I'll call your marketing hook is. Things like search engine optimization, pay-per-click, content blogging, white papers, case studies, email campaigns, programmatic advertising, and much more can all be used in a digital marketing strategy to raise brand awareness, drive more leads, or nurture your potential customer toward a sale. It may seem like a lot to consider, and frankly it is, but as digital marketing continues to grow and dramatically increase, especially in the COVID age, now is the best time to start identifying and strategizing, and that's why we're here to help as an extension of your marketing and advertising teams, as well as other components of your business. Specifically, our goal among all channels is to assist you across your growth strategy, which includes aspects of strategic planning, working with you to identify project objectives, format, timelines, KPIs, onboarding and project management, supporting you and your staff to ensure that the project meets the strategic objectives and deadlines, production, hosting, publication, especially in the event of a webinar or podcast, for example, working with your key stakeholders to finalize the media, moving to hosting, broadcasting, and publishing of your content. And then marketing, awareness, and consumption, helping distribute your content, message, or event to your target audience by email, social media, website, or your scientist.com profile through our connected communities of scientist.com, Health Economics, and Inside Scientific. And then finally, reporting, advertising statistics, attendee lists, even summarizing these data sets to assist you in drawing conclusions to create actionable next steps. Our core philosophy is to work with you to develop the right solutions based on your strategy and expectations. So with the packages across scientist.com and associated channels of Inside Scientific and Health Economics, we enable you to leverage and/or enhance your marketplace presence within scientist.com and arguably outside of it. This could come in the form of webinars, working through the entire life cycle of the webinar process, and having our team do the administrative and technical legwork for planning, targeting, hosting, all the way through reporting. In essence, we do that legwork while you can focus on content, your message, and connecting with your audience. Or podcasts. These are a great way of disseminating information about your organization to educate, tell your story, build your community. This option provides a quick and easy format for you sharing your expertise within the industry. Or maybe sponsor blogs. Depending on your strategy, you may be looking to create awareness as a company as a whole, brand awareness, brand recognition, or you may want to create this awareness for a new acquisition or a service line. This is possible through the blog series and something we promote in a variety of ways, which on average leads to around 4,000 impressions per post. Or e-blasts. You just want to focus on your organization or a specific service line. You can target whatever audience you'd like, and we will promote only your content through this e-blast mechanism. In short, let us help. Even if it's a simple consultation for how to sign up to Scientist or improve and polish your profile, that's why we're here, and we want to help you succeed in whatever form it manifests. And finally, as you can see by some of the numbers, we do have a myriad of options that can be tailored to your organization's preferences. And this is why, for me and our team, it's so important to understand your strategy. Who would you like to advertise to? Pharma versus biotech, both? Maybe a specific division within these organizations? Are there geographical considerations? Are you marketing the company as a whole, or just that new proprietary service line that you've just built out? How does this complement your existing digital presence? There's a lot to unpackage here, and this is something that our expert team can assist with, and finding the service-first approach that we can work with you to expand your reach and lead generation as a result. Between all of these Scientist.com brands, we have the variety of options to ensure that you're able to focus these efforts on core business drivers as well as your target market immediately in whatever medium is best. It could be the newsletter that goes to tens of thousands of subscribers to all of those 140 companies that Dave mentioned, or perhaps our monthly subscription program, which is easily one of the most popular Scientist.com features, or which provides you advertising at the point of sale, as well as market intelligence features that can help you win more business within Scientist.com and again outside of it. Whatever approach fits best, we tailor the solution for you. It's just a matter of connecting with you and your team to map out these programs, understand your strategy, and support your digital presence growth and organizational goals as a whole. So with that, I just want to say thanks for the time, and I'm going to turn it back over to Patty.
Brian, thanks so much. And I hope that if anyone out there has an interest in learning a little more, we're going to give you our contact information at the end of the slide deck, and we'll encourage you to reach out to us. Let's dive into some real life case studies now. This particular case study gives an example of an onboarding process and how a buyer can quickly and easily work with a new solution provider. So in this particular challenge, it was a complex VEA project that, from the buyer's side, required 8 different global solution providers. 6 of these solution providers were not current suppliers on the marketplace, and they were based all over the world, in Asia, Central America, and Europe, and they needed to be onboarded rapidly onto the network. Moreover, the buyer challenged us to make this happen so that a PO could be issued before the end of their fiscal year. So working closely with our customer service team and the researcher, we were able to rapidly onboard those 6 new solution providers. And this included contract negotiation, the commercial due diligence, training them on the marketplace, getting the procurement and purchasing process set up with them. And within 1 month from start to finish, 10 different POs were received, with a median time for that new supplier to be onboarded of 18 days. And the end of the year deadline was met for all of those POs to be issued. This particular project takes a look at how a marketplace can be used to find the best supplier for your project. In this case, the researcher had a project in lung cancer where they were looking for a particular secondary data source. And you all know how challenging it can be to find the suppliers who have that data asset, to fully assess their capabilities as well as the structure of that database. In fact, the researcher at the present time really didn't know what database was going to serve his project the best. So using the marketplace, we were able to facilitate a conversation with 11 different suppliers who had skill sets in this particular area. The researcher vetted those suppliers and received 4 proposals prior to purchase. So this is a case study that gives an example of how the marketplace can be used to understand the potential capabilities of suppliers, whether you know them or not, and to be able to easily compare their capabilities and data assets and select the most qualified supplier for your project. This last case study is an example of typical cost savings realized through a multi-source project process. This particular buyer wanted to conduct an SLR and a feasibility assessment for an indirect treatment comparison in the arena of heart failure. Through the marketplace, they were able to request 5 different bids from suppliers, compare those, and as you see, there was a wide range of cost for each of those bids, from $85,000 as a low up to $163,000 as a high. Using that multi-source process, the buyer was able to select the supplier that had the best capabilities for this particular project and also realize about a $20,000 savings as a result of that multiple bids received. So let's have Dave come on camera. Dave, we've given our audience a lot of information, and I'd like for you to summarize what we've learned today about the marketplace and how it can be used for them.
Absolutely, Patty. I think the biggest benefits are all going to be on this slide right here, and really being able to have this quicker time to insight, right? So whether you're a buyer that needs to quickly identify a capable supplier, or you're a supplier that needs to quickly identify whether or not you should respond, to a bid proposal. That's what the marketplace does. It makes you more nimble with your decision making and easier to just kind of save time on that entire outsourcing interaction. It's going to help you reduce time to contract. So once you get by the identification piece, being able to really put the pen to the paper and start work, right? How long does that take you today? This marketplace is going to reduce that time for you, tremendously by being able to have that proactive approach to contracting. And of course, the fastest piece, faster market access, right? If we can get you the information you need as fast as possible, get you contracted as fast as possible, your work is going to get done quicker. And from the other side, as a supplier, you're going to be able to close business quicker. You're going to be able to start projects quicker. And that piece, obviously is worth its weight in gold. So overall, as you're seeing here, Science.com, value, evidence, and access, wheel of outsourcing activities. The entire operations of outsourcing is going to become more efficient for you, whether you're a researcher or you're a provider of these services. Cool. And yeah, what's the value proposition question, right? Why should you use the value evidence access marketplace? Well, we just kind of went through the wheel of, how that helps the operations of outsourcing. But really, these are the numbers that, should, really get everybody excited. There are a lot of suppliers on this platform and a lot of buyers of these services, ready to make this ecosystem continue to hum. There are a lot of categories that we broker. So that's going to be, as Patty mentioned earlier, that's an area where we invite you to research more of the platform, see what services you provide, what services you're looking for, and let's make those connections happen. Time savings, of course, that's the name of the game for all of us. 6 to 8 weeks on average. For a lot of you, it could be even faster depending on, that bottleneck of contracting. And finally, cost savings. Of course, whenever you go out and do a competitive bid, everybody's going to have an opportunity to compete. And that gives you the opportunity to find, a lower bidder and a lower price. And we're seeing greater than 15% savings, from the buyer's perspective, every single day on every single one of these projects. So that's it, Patty.
Great summary, Dave. Thank you so much. Let's invite everyone on camera and go to our Q&A. Audience, what questions do you have? We've got several that have come in already, and I invite you to continue to send those in. We want to hear from you. And if you don't have a question, just give us some of your experiences with selecting suppliers and how you manage that process internally. We want to have a kind of a give and take here to learn from you as well. So our first question is, let me send this over to Matt, since Matt has been working on this value evidence and access marketplace for several years. Matt, what are some common types of projects that are sourced through the marketplace?
Hi, Patty. Thank you for inviting me along today and for the question. I think that from a marketplace perspective, we do see quite a range. We see some basic requests for systematic literature reviews, things like that, through to more complex requests. So recently we did a multi-deliverable project for one of the pharmaceutical companies. It had multiple different endpoints. It was engaged with suppliers across the world, looking at various different aspects with regards to one of their research therapeutic areas. So we really do or are able to cover a vast range from very simple, what you would class as more transactional requests, through to more collaborative requests where it requires a lot of support and interaction with the suppliers to understand and also define those specifications. But what I would also say is that one of the nice things about the marketplace is that it's a really nice opportunity for suppliers to expand their scope of services. So as a supplier, you may join looking at the value evidence and access space, but you may offer services within other areas of the pharmaceutical supply chain, which you can also make visible to researchers. So I think that's one of the things to always consider, is that through the marketplace, we can actually support your entire business with regards to provision of services for pharmaceutical companies. And we can also increase your visibility to clients. And that's another area that we've seen with regards to service requests, is we've seen suppliers being asked for services that previously they've never been asked for by that client, just because they weren't aware that that supplier offered them.
Thank you, Matt. That does really ring true, that a solution provider may offer a continuum of services, but a particular researcher may only have worked with them in a particular vertical of their business. So this certainly gets some visibility. So let's go to Brian. if there is a solution provider that wants to ensure that their supplier profile does adequately communicate their range of services, what do we offer from Scientist.com's capabilities to help that supplier maximize their visibility and their profile on the marketplace?
Yeah, it's a great question. And the answer in short is there's many different ways that you can connect with us. We have a live chat that you can reach out just to get some feedback. You can always reach out to me directly. We have a variety of individuals through our supplier and onboarding team that can provide greater clarity on some of the key things to focus on. But it's all about building the right sort of message that's consistent with your brand on your website and social media. So, your short description, the first thing that a client sees, to your research areas, which is how clients find you, to the media that you want to have displayed, which could be videos, white papers, presentations. There's a lot of different things that you can include to make sure that you stand out. But the first is just kind of working with Scientist.com and individuals like myself, so we can kind of identify what those key gaps are. But making sure that your short description and your research areas are probably the most important, because it's going to be some of the first things that clients see.
Thank you, Brian. And so specifically, Cameron wants to know, what's the process if they don't know anything about how to get on the marketplace and they want to register as a supplier? What's the first step that they take?
We'll send you a link so you can build your user login and build your supplier profile. So that would be the most immediate first step. Of course, getting into the system, there's an agreement that needs to be completed. The commercial due diligence needs to be completed. But what I would say is, as you're kind of navigating after you receive that link, is let's have a teleconference. Let's kind of walk through it, through every step that you need to take, how this can support your overall organization. And then with that, we can start kind of chipping away at the larger profile, so that way it demonstrates, the right content that is most applicable to your organization.
I've got another question from an audience member. I think, Dave, this is probably best for you. If a buyer has an existing MSA with a supplier, how does the marketplace work with that?
Yeah, great question, Patty. I didn't mention this earlier, but it is one of the fundamental pieces of how we contract. It's actually stated in our contract that if there's any existing language, that it will supersede our language, right? Or, well, specifically if there are any differences, right, that yours will take precedence. So the short answer is that you can use your existing MSA on the marketplace. The long answer is, if you want to make any changes to that as things go forward, we can talk about that. We have ways to, change language on a statement of work level, on a purchase order level, so that, there's lots of fluidity to how we contract. But again, the short answer is you can do business through our marketplace using an existing MSA.
So Matt, if a buyer has an interest in doing a project, but they don't see it on one of those 75 plus service listings, what does one do?
They follow a very similar process, in that you aren't restricted with regards to the services that you offer, and equally, that you're searching for. Equally, as a supplier, you're not restricted to those 75 either. So if there's a particular service that you provide that isn't covered or doesn't fall within those 75, reach out to the team. We always are looking to refresh and update them. But from a researcher's perspective, you would just start a request. We have a generic request form. From within there, you type out the specifications for your project, and one of our research concierge would reach out to you, really go into a little bit more depth to understand what you're after, and then be able to recommend suppliers to be able to fulfill that request. One of the activities of the categories team within Scientist.com is really to act as a point of contact for suppliers in this space, so that they can understand what capabilities are, so that we can act as a BD team in effect for a supplier. So when a request comes in, we're able to direct or give recommendations to researchers based on the requirements of that individual project.
It reminds me of a particular project where the buyer had an interest in a very macroeconomic analysis of the impact of COVID. And this was not just on the healthcare system, but they were interested in the impact of COVID across the educational, political, equity outcomes. And this was not a project type that had been sourced through the marketplace. In fact, not a real common type of project that an HEOR RWE person might deal with. But given the importance of the pandemic, this was a high priority for this company. And we were able to onboard several solution providers that were able to take that macroeconomic approach and, in fact, edify the service lines to accommodate for that new request. So I think, in summary, what Matt's suggesting is that the service listings from both the supplier side and the buyer side are constantly being refreshed based on the needs of our industry. What if a buyer doesn't have any concept of the solution provider that might fulfill the service of that project? Exactly what is the role of the Research Concierge? Dave gave a good background of the academic backgrounds, but tell me how they interact directly with that researcher. And Matt, why don't you take that one too, please?
Yeah, no worries. So basically, every request that goes through our platform first comes to the Research Concierge. So the reason we do that is as a QC step. We want to make sure that suppliers are responding to fully developed requests, so we can reduce that back and forth between the researcher and the supplier to get as quickly as possible to the point where the supplier's got enough information to quote. So the first role of the Research Concierge is really to act as that QC point of view. Once they've done that QC, then again, one of the other roles that they take is around the guidance of the researcher on supplier selections. Within our clients, they may have a defined supply base that the researcher is permitted to use, or they may have preferred supplier relationships that they want to continue and support. So really, we act as a default procurement team in that respect for that individual client and guide the researcher along the correct path. Once the information has been reviewed, once the supplier pool has been selected, and I think it's really important to note that the researcher always retains full control over that, then we release it to the supplier. Once the supplier receives it, the Research Concierge and our account management team really get into the point of customer service. So that's where they act as a point of contact for both the supplier's questions as well as the researcher's questions to really speed up the process of being able to transfer information and, again, reach that point of quoting. And I think that's the reason why within the metrics that you showed earlier on in the presentation, we can get to a point where the majority of quotes are received within the same week. Once the quote's been received, the researcher makes a selection on who to proceed with, and then they'll raise the purchase order. That's done outside of the scientist.com system within the client's own e-procurement system. But at this point in time, we act as a point of contact for the supplier, providing updates as required before we go into that real billing management process where we can support the researcher and the supplier's process through from invoicing through to completion and payment. So as you can see, it's really my colleagues probably won't appreciate this, but very much a glorified admin team where we hold the hands of both parties from beginning to end and are always in the background ready to answer questions, provide support. Doesn't matter who it is. What we're looking to do is make sure that everybody has that brilliant customer experience when they're on the platform.
Thank you, Matt. And I want to thank all of our panelists and speakers today for sharing your expertise. We're approaching the top of the hour, so we will close out this portion of the webinar. And audience, I want to direct you to the link that Brian alluded to before. You see right there to learn more and sign up. Just click on that link. And truly, one of the unique features of this particular platform and this company is that you have people that are here ready to work with you. Reach out to any or all of us directly, and we will absolutely help you with any question that you have or answering any sort of concerns that you may have. Use us. We really want to have a one-on-one dialogue with you. With that, I want to thank you and turn the close of the webinar over to Sarah.
Well, thank you all so much, our lovely panelists, for your excellent presentations today and also your thoughtful insights during the Q&A. I hope everyone in the audience enjoyed this event, and I want to invite you to participate in our survey, which will be coming up on your screen now. We'd love to hear your feedback, and also would love to know what webinar topics you'd like to hear about from our team going forward. If you want to stay in this auditorium for a couple minutes longer, I will leave it open. Please note that all of the logos at the top are clickable and they will take you to our respective websites. And also I wanted to bring attention one last time to that resources panel. You will have access to these resources after the event, but if you take advantage of them now, you'll be able to access them before we have the recording available. So I just wanted to send one last thank you again to our panelists. It was really a pleasure to have you with us. And thank you again to everyone.